Hi, friends, and welcome to the Voices of MCC podcast. I'm Todd Chipman, one of the elders. Our goal in these podcasts is to help you see how the beliefs and practices of MCC are worked out in the daily lives of members of our fellowship. I'm here today with Partrick DeRonde. Partrick, one of our members, student at Spurgeon College of Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Kansas City, and faithful member of MCC, participant in the Legends MCG, and he has just returned from a few weeks in Europe, in the Netherlands and Croatia, and I am looking forward to hearing him share with us about his trip and highlights. Partrick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Partrick, let's begin. Just catch us up first. Your connections to MCC, participation in the Legends, MCG, and so forth, ministries you have at MCC.
Yeah, for sure. I've been at MCC, MCC for about a year and a half, almost coming up on 2 years. And I participated in the Legends group. And it's been a joy. I've been at Midwestern for a few years. About a year before I came to MCC, I was kind of hopping between churches, and but then got convicted of like a need for just solid church membership, and I just needed to choose a church, and I knew MCC was a good one. I had some friends going, and I just pulled the trigger, and I've been enjoying it ever since. And I love the Legends group. And it's been a joy to grow through that. Yeah.
And folks see you who are regular at MCC because often you're playing the cello.
Yeah.
Part of the chorale.
Yeah, it's a joy to serve that way.
Yeah. Your musical gifting. And you have connections with MCC, and even the reason for this podcast and your trip with Todd and Pam Price.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Catch us up on your relationship with the Prices. Many folks may not know about that.
Yeah, no, I've known the Prices for a really long time. They've known me longer than I've known them. My parents and them are good family friends. And when I was in Hungary, my parents were missionaries there. I was born there. Around the same time, the Prices were living in Hungary and Bosnia, I believe. They came and visited, and we've been friends for a long time, even before. And the church that I grew up in Iowa, is actually the original sending church of the Prices, which is just a funny small world moment where I come 3.5 hours away to another church, and this is another church that's supporting them. So yeah, and 3 years, actually, before I even came down to Kansas City, I went on a trip with the Prices to Croatia. Just wanted to do some missions, and I've gone 3 times now, and this was the third. So
I can remember 10, 15 years ago talking with Todd Price, and he would talk about this church in Iowa, and the pastor's just so faithful to support them that they were in Hungary themselves and knew the Prices there. And now we're sitting here having this podcast, and you're their kid.
Yeah, no, it's such a funny thing.
Small world. Yes, the Lord is kind. Well, part of the reason, again, that we're together today is you have just returned, even just this within the last week, from a trip to Croatia, but also to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Why did you go to the Netherlands? What did you do there? Give us the story.
Yeah, apart from just being born in Hungary, my mom's from the Netherlands, which gives me dual citizenship. And then not just that, but a heart for the people. It's kind of, I would categorize it as post-Christian culture, where there was a great presence of Christianity back a couple hundred years ago with Kuyper and Bavinck and all those guys who were great pioneers of the faith. But in the recent decades, it's definitely turned to secularism, and there's a clear need for solid churches, solid church planters and pastors and theologians in that country, along with Europe in a wider sense. And having dual citizenship, the hurdle of getting a visa that a lot of missionaries deal with is not there for me. And so that just sparked an idea of maybe in the future this could turn into a mission field for me, and just taking the first step towards probing at that possibility was this part of the trip where I visited with a church, a Baptist church. A mutual connection was the pastor, with actually one of the trustees here at MBTS. He got me in contact. I set up a few Zoom calls, and before I knew it, we had a plan for just a couple weeks of not an internship, no like responsibility necessarily on my part, but just to network, get a connection, see, hey, what would it look like even at a surface level to come here in the future. So
it's a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
Just this trustee at the school, I know him, and the connection there.
Yeah.
And here's a conversation, here's a relationship,
Yeah.
and now here's a missions trip, and maybe even more to come.
Yeah,
very,
absolutely.
very fun to think about how the Lord works in all of these strands, and He weaves them together. You and I began to have a conversation about you heading to the Netherlands maybe a year ago even.
Yeah,
and then these plans develop. So you were participating with a particular church there.
Yes.
In the Netherlands, in a particular city. Give us the city,
Yep.
the church, and then describe the church to us in its atmosphere, its distinctives, and ministries.
Yeah, no, Rotterdam, the second biggest city in the Netherlands. It's about an hour drive south of Amsterdam. That's where the church is. It's called the Reformed Baptist Church of Rotterdam South. So a nice, good, basic, boring name. But it is actually pretty distinct because Baptist churches don't really exist in the Netherlands. So to hear Baptist Church of wherever is actually quite distinct in the Netherlands. So yeah, and the atmosphere of the church was super welcoming. I didn't know exactly what I was expecting, but not exactly what I got. I got there and I'm like, this feels very much MCC-ish, which was just kind of a surprise to me. And in retrospect, it kind of makes sense. It's a Baptist church. Started by a guy who went to Southern, so a lot of the polity aspects are similar. Lord's Supper every week, get together, potluck after church, which is sweet. They meet in the evening, which was a little weird for me. Getting up on Sunday morning and have nothing to do for a few hours before going to church in the evening. They, at this point, are renting from another church, which actually another church rents from them as well. So there's 3 churches meeting in the same building over different time slots in the day. But a prayer request for them that they would love for me to share is that they're looking to hopefully someday get their own building. Maybe this building becomes theirs. The church that actually owns the building is slowly, I think, dying, dwindling. And so they're hoping that they could be in a position to buy the building. But yeah, no, the people were super welcoming and warm, which is a little bit strange for Dutch community. It's not necessarily a cold culture, but it's not as open and as direct as directly open as we are in the States. In the States, you're a little bit more friendly with strangers than people in the Netherlands would be. People are still kind and warm, but it takes a little bit longer for that to get to that point in relationships in the Netherlands. But that was not the case with this church. It was very opening and kind, and I felt very welcomed the moment I got there. So
it is surreal how the Lord's Spirit in His people, wherever you are geographically around the world, brings people together, and you have a sense of commonality right away. In 10 minutes you feel relaxed, you feel like you can be your true self.
Absolutely.
In our world, we talk a lot about identity issues and you be you, the real you. And as believers, we embrace that idea as well. We just want to be ourselves, just like everybody does. But we are able to relax as ourselves with God's people in unique ways.
Absolutely.
And that fellowship shows itself cross-culturally. What is common is not language or ethnicity or nationality or country of origin, even particular interests. It's Christ in us. That the Spirit in us is what we have in common. Therefore, we love God's word. We love Him. We are oriented toward the same ultimate goal of His glory in all peoples and churches and all those distinctives. So you get to hang out with this church. You stayed with one of the pastors. Tell us a bit about them, and then just ecclesiology, the leadership structure of the church a bit.
Yeah, so right now they planted about 2.5 years with two pastors, both younger guys. They're 28 now. I was staying with the one pastor who I had the most contact with is the lead pastor. He's on staff. He preaches most Sundays. I wasn't able to stay with him, but I was able to stay with the other planting pastor. He and his wife live not too far from the church, and it was just a sweet time getting to participate in life with them, eat meals with them, cook with them, do laundry in their laundry machine, and sleep in their house. They were super hospitable. It was really, really sweet to see. And then there's they planted with those two elders, and then recently in the last few months they added a third elder, an older gentleman about 70 years old who worked in the marketplace, as we say here. For a long time. He worked in England a little bit, in the Netherlands, but has a PhD in theology, and so he's definitely brings an air of experience and age, which they are self-aware to know that they need. As two 28-year-old guys, they're being faithful. They trust the Bible. They're not doing anything wrong by being 28, but they know that it's helpful to have somebody who has a little bit more experience, and they're hoping to add elders in the future as well, and build up leaders for the future from the young guys who are there.
And then you headed to Croatia.
Yeah. You
jumped in with the Prices in their annual trip, a trip that you've been on multiple times. Yeah. So back to some routines that you were familiar with.
Yeah.
What stood out to you this year? They provide a camp experience for kids. Todd's able to test materials. So that's all sort of the normal pattern. Anything stand out to you this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that stands out to me is one of the things that it's the same every time. It's such a sweet time to be there and share the gospel with kids that don't know the Lord, that desperately need life, who in Christ, who unless somebody tells them they're destined for their life is going to be hard regardless, and if somebody doesn't tell them about Jesus, then their life after life is going to be even worse. And something that they don't understand. They're happy kids. They love us. They love the guys in red shirts. We always wear red shirts, and so whenever we roll up into the village, they're ecstatic. And so that's always there, and that always stands out to me, even though it's the same every time. And then this year, I had a couple friends who came with me from my hometown, guys that I grew up with, and what was so sweet was to watch in them. Guys who had grown up in the States, who had been saturated with the gospel, grown up in a Midwestern town, gone to church all their lives, to see the value of the gospel just so vividly in the lives of these kids that desperately need it. Bringing the gospel does something, I think, to believers in their spirit that, we're called to as Christians to go therefore and make disciples of all nations. And so to be obedient is a sweet thing, and that click is made, that switch is made just in that obedience. And second off, just like seeing the value of like the gospel, seeing a culture that does not have the gospel as like a foundational or saturation in their lives, and seeing, okay, this is actually something that I've been privileged to have taught to me from a young age, and I want to actually share this desperately with these people as well. So that was a really sweet moment to see that in them.
Very exciting to think of the way the Lord used you to help the Prices and for more participants on the trip and use this in their lives. The value of a short-term missions trip can be a short shadow or a longer one.
Yes.
And often that shadow extends more than we think. Yeah. And I'm very glad. I'm thankful for MCC's generosity.
Yes,
those who are listening to help provide this for Partrick, the regular support for the prices, and making this trip possible this year for you to learn and grow. Very excited for it all and what the Lord has for you as you look ahead. Catch folks up just on what the next year and a half look like for you.
Yeah, I graduate with my MDiv in December, Lord willing, as long as everything goes well. The plan is to stick around here for a little while. I really love MCC, and I want to participate in MCC for a little bit longer. And then after that, that's where it gets. I just have to be faithful to what the Lord puts before me, and part of what I'm doing on this trip was to figure out what that looks like, whether that's a medium-term trip in the Netherlands again to answer some questions of, hey, what would this actually look like? What would this look like if I was there for longer, living on my own or with some guys, or having a little bit more autonomy to see what life would really look like. While the 2 weeks was great, it doesn't give a great picture of what it would actually look like for me to live there. So that could be a possibility. Obviously, there's a possibility to stay in the States, whether here in Kansas City or go back to Iowa. Those are all options. But the bottom line is I want to be faithful to what the Lord has given me, what the Lord has for me, and keep knocking on doors. I want to serve him in whatever I do, whether that's here in the States, whether that's in the Netherlands, whether that's in Croatia for a long term. But yeah, I want to be faithful.
We're excited to see how the Lord grows us all in the next year and a half as you're here, and see what he has for you and our partnership together. And grateful. This is what outreach season is about at MCC. Absolutely. This is what we look forward to. And we want to continue to partner with you and others in ways that advance the gospel, that use the gifts God has given us and the gifts that we all have. So, brother, thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you. And look forward to what's to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to thank Alex Volkman for producing our podcasts, Adam Anderson and Caleb Sheffield for their musical intros. And in conclusion here, we're so thankful for MCC and our fellowship together. Friends, until next time, the Lord bless and keep you.